Happy New Year, friend. I am really excited to be bringing you this video today. We're going to talk about the upcoming New Year 2021, which starts on January 21st. So stay tuned. Welcome back, friend. Your human design professional and BG5 business and career consultant, Leann Wolff here. And I am going to share with you today the upcoming year. It is, it's an interesting time as the cross of planning continues to break down on us, and we get to step deeper and deeper into our own autonomy. And it feels very destructive, and it usually is. You know, when you go clean a room in your house, what usually happens is you're taking stuff out, other areas of your house, you're pulling things out so that you can clean it and then reorganize it and put it in. So it kind of looks chaotic. And I used to love doing that with my mom every spring and fall. We cleaned the house, we washed walls, we did all that. I love cleaning. And I still do that in my own home. And it's so funny because I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to tackle this room and do this and clean this. But the rest of the house seems to get all this stuff put into it before I can rearrange and clean and put back. So that's really what's happening, this destruction before we can expand out into our own autonomy. So let's get started. I want to share with you my screens today. We're going to chat about the 2021 year, and I'm also going to continue to chat about the upcoming 2027 shift. So every year, of course, when the 41st gate enters into the sun, that's when we have our human design new year. And we have that human design new year because the 41 is our start codon. Anytime our genetic code needs to begin a new code, begin a new expression of what is going to happen on our outside world. So maybe we're going to start building an ear, or we're going to start building a toe, or we're going to replace whatever cellular structure there is. The DNA starts with the start codon, and that's what the 41 does. So the 41 is our pressure to feel, but it's also our fuel to contract. And that fuel to contract brings us to this place where, when I look at the quantum physics world, quantum physics says zeros and ones can be either or both at the same time. In our linear, seven-centered world, where our PCs really are based in, our PCs and our Macs are zeros and ones, and they have to be zeros and ones. They have to hold true to that. Where in quantum physics, a zero can be a one and a one can be zero. And of course, it all depends on how you are observing it. The observer of the experience creates the experience. So the 41 is that fuel and pressure that we need to have a human experience up to the 30, to the 36, over to the 35. This is the human experiential way. And Ra always said, throw expectations out. Remember, the I Ching and the original human design was brought forward for us through the lens of the not self. When we can see these mechanics and really understand them and live them, we transcend them. So we live the highest version of it. So the human experiential way, throw the expectation out of the way and stand in your standards. I just did the video about it, so you can look at that video if you need to. Be in your own standard, and then be anticipatory to the experience. What that 41 really does is it tells us, so we need to contract down to one feeling, one experience. When we can contract down to that one experience, then what happens is we put our feelers out there afterwards, and we can go into the potential of the scalar wave, into that quantum physics reality, and we can go out there and touch it. And then when we contract back down, we can then realize that manifestation, because that's really where this is heading. The 35, anything in the throat center, that's where we manifest. So that human experiential way is guiding us, and it's saying contract down to one feeling, one experience at a time, stop trying to multitask. And then when we can do that, we can put our feelers out into the potentiality and contract back down and realize that manifestation. All right, so the 31 is an opposition in the wheel, and the 31 is influence. The 31 is in the throat. So again, that's why the human experiential way, when we look at this, we manifest that way through the 35, but the 31 is always the opposition. So what the 31 is telling us is that every single human experiential experience that we're having is built on a pattern, because the 31's on the logical side. So it's built on top of a pattern. We have a pattern, just like this DNA that's running in the background. There's a pattern, there's a code, there's a formula there, and then we get to have the experience and witness what we need to on top of that pattern. So the 31, the voice that happens there is I lead, but it will lead with authority or powerlessness. And what was really interesting for the 2021 or 2020 year is a massive shift into censorship. So anybody speaking about their experience or speaking about information that the narrative didn't support, then all of a sudden they got censored and taken off. So remember, the cross of planning is breaking down. So its very final, very last push is to try to be the authority and still have human beings believe that they are powerless. And what is taking place in 2027 is the complete opposite of that, where we no longer are powerless. Our voice does matter. Our voice is the authority. The collective's voice is the authority. And we no longer have to be powerless to that contract or bargain that was set out in the last 400 years. We can stand in our own new experience of that. So the influential voice that happens here, how are we manifesting our own reality? Are you doing it through an authority, or are you doing it through powerlessness? And both things are happening, where the collective powerless voice is, the powerlessness is they're being censored, and a whole new authority is coming out. But yet, again, in the quantum physics world, those two things can be interchangeable. So even though they're being censored, there's a whole new authority taking place and a whole brand new experience where there's tons and tons more platforms, social media platforms being built outside of the construct of large government and large business, providing an authority back to those censored voices. It's very beautiful. Now, the two really, as you can see, key parts here that are happening in the 2021 year is awareness. Now the 61, thankfully, and I'll show you this in the next slide, the 61, thankfully, was always there throughout the whole cross of planning. And that 61 is that inner truth. Thankfully, it was there, because what it did for us is it still held open this little tiny spot for us to be connected to our own source and to recognize that our own inner truth is important. So awareness is going to be a big, big, crucial, critical factor this year. Being aware, being able to open up your eyes. Don't get caught up in all of that distraction that's happening out there. And distraction, you know, when I say new social media platforms, is it a good thing or a bad thing? Well, you can look at it again as a binary or this and a that and both, because there's a whole new stream of things to be distracted about, where this channel is saying, be aware. There is a pressure here, right? And that pressure is how to know the unknowable. Now, we're not designed to always know the unknowable. We're not designed to do that. We jumped into this meat suit, and there's this aspect of us that, you know, we kind of got disconnected. Can we tap back into that? Of course. Are there always going to be aspects that we just can't know? Probably. In this reality, probably. So there's a pressure here to know the unknowable. Now, don't get yourself in a space where, you know, you get very, very caught up mentally trying to figure it out, because that's what will happen. Is the inspirational head center and the conceptualizing of the ajna, it will create such a huge tension for us to try to figure things out. Relax in. You will know what you need to know when you need to know it. And that awareness aspect is empowering us always to then be able to conceptualize our own inner truth through our own media, not through anybody else's media, through our connection to our own reality. So the other area that is also quite critical, again, is this 1949. And if you're following human design, the 1949 is breaking down come 2027. Because basically what's going to happen is we no longer have to be sacrificing our physicality for the gods. And when we can recognize that we are God, we are an aspect of the Creator, then we no longer have to be fearful or nervous about our entrance or denial into the spiritual realm. So the 1949 is the sensitivity to resources. And the 19 always has to flirt. It flirts and it, coerces the 49 into supplying those resources for it. This is where we get our marriage contract. When the 49, when the 19 flirts enough to get the 49's attention, then the 49 says, okay, well, you need to obey me and I will support you. I will provide you with the support you need and be sensitive to your resources, but you have to obey me. And that's really what this whole channel is about. But for me, when I look at it this year, is 2020 really brought us to a place of what do we really need? What's important and what do we really need? How much do we really need? That's also a key aspect here. How much do we really need? So sensitive to resources, recognizing resources, what do you actually need in your own experience? What do you need? The 54, this is going to be a part of the Cross of the Sleeping Phoenix come 2027. So I think it's a great place for it to be involved in this year because it's bringing us to the space where capitalism is going to look different. It isn't about handing over our authority to big business, to government, to any of these aspects. They're trying very hard to continue to be in control. And capitalism is adjusting to this whole new capitalistic way where the entrepreneur, the consultant, the individual is going to be more important than these large organizations. And the 22 has been around most of this year, and I continue to say is that the 22 is about attentiveness. What mutative energy, what creativity are we giving attention to? What are we open to mutatively, and what are we not open to mutatively? Are we paying attention to our own emotional moods? Are we paying attention to who and what we are at the core of us and allowing for that to be in an empowering space for us? Or are we still continuing to take the distractions from the outside and having it create a huge, massive effect on who we are? So the 22 is asking us, be attentive to that inner empowered world. Now, something that's also very important is this 27 has been hanging around for most of the year. And what the 27 does is it strips the resources of the tribe so that it can nourish and take care of the tribe. And we can see that human beings, resources all over the planet, there's been a massive shift in all of that. There's been a huge scarcity of food, a huge scarcity of who's being educated, a huge scarcity in all of this kind of stuff. But for me, what the 27 really is doing is how are you nourishing yourself? How are you taking all of this energy? I know it's tribal. How are you supporting your own nourishment? So Ra always said, now, whether you want to take Ra's nefarious movement forward in humanity or not, it's none of my business how you accept or decline his information. But Ra always said, what happens when food trucks stop going into a place like New York City or London or Tokyo? What happens when there's no more food supply? What happens when those people cannot nourish themselves? There's going to be massive amounts of chaos. So what is important is that you can be able to sustain yourself, your own resources, your own nourishment. That's what's going to be important. Now, what I see in my community is that there's this massive shift into this bargaining aspect. Okay, so you have, a storage of carrots or potatoes or whatever it is, and I have beef. So let's trade. So there's this massive shift where we're going back to the very fundamentals of humanity and interacting in a way that's all brand new. It's all brand new. It's not about taking the taking the narrative from large business or government. Now, the 45 is that voice of I have or I have not. The 45 is very concerned, always concerned about how is the tribe being taken care of in an education and resourced way. And if you see here, this is our North Node. This is the energy of the North Node. Now, the North Node is a trajectory. And with the 45, and again, having the third line is very materialistic. It's concerned about the material world. So how is our own materiality? The tribe, when you look in your local area, I will guarantee that there are local farmers that want to feed you, that there are local artisans that want to be able to provide for you. And I know that inside of your human design body graph, there are intrinsic strengths and qualities and characteristics and skills that that other person requires. Maybe you are fantastic at creating websites so that that person can get a farther reach in their local area, and you can do a trade. That's really what this 45 is doing, is saying, listen, we need to come together as a tribe, as a local community, and everybody needs to have. Instead of having the have-nots, we need to be haves, meaning we need to all feel valued and respected and have our resources met. So go to your local areas, go to your farmers markets, do that. Get in contact with your local farmers and be involved in that. So the 26, what I love about the 26 is that the 26 is very persuasive, and it has to be. Why? Well, when we look at the 44, and I want you to just take a look here, there's nothing in the spleen to start off the year, and there's nothing in identity and direction. So these are going to be two massive areas where we need to learn a lot of wisdom. And of course, what is the spleen? It's about the fear of survival. So we're going to continue to see this theme this year, the fear of survival. And what direction do we go to? Which direction do we go towards? That's going to be the other aspect that is going to be forefront for people. What is my direction? Which way do I go? What is my own identity if the government breaks down and large business breaks down? What are my skills? What are my internal strengths? That's really going to be the focus this year. But what the 26 does is it persuades, and it persuades the 44, because the 44 has eons and eons and eons and eons of past information tucked into that 44th gate. And that 44 it's that fear of the past. So it's good to have all that information, but the 26 kind of, antagonizes and persuades that 44 to break out of its own pattern. Let's not let the past hold you back. Let's step into this newness, and let's use this particular product or service or whatever it is to get you back into a space where you need to get back into, so that you can feel as though and have the experience of being supported through the tribe. Okay, so that's really, in a nutshell, what January 21st and the year 2021 has in store for us. Remember, it's always unexpected. We never really know what is going to happen. I can give you the mechanics day by day by day by day by day, and you can, watch these things take place. It's the how. How will they express themselves in the world? Lots of people were watching for the 2020 year. Lots of people had this real sensation that's exactly how this was going to play out, but they didn't know that it was going to be a virus per se that was going to shut down the world. So again, the mechanics are there. You get to recognize them through your own design. How do they sit in your physical body graph? Okay. And then how are you experiencing them through your own experience, through your eyes, through your lens of your own body graph? That's really the important piece. So when we take a look at the cross of planning again, know that this is all breaking down. This cross of planning and the Maya. The Maya that has been built is breaking down. There's a delusion that was happening, and that was the pattern. That is all breaking down for us. And it's okay. It looks very, very destructive to anyone who isn't aware and gets caught up in the distraction of it. And this is really where we want to move our focus towards. And we want to move our focus towards integration of our own wisdom, of our own authority, of our own personal power, so that we can achieve union how we need to and have our own spirit be brought out in every one of our new beginnings that we have. So we want to be able to be selfish. We want to be able to be very selective, use our wisdom and our common sense so that we can utilize our own intuition and only get caught up in the relationships that are good for us. Be willing to break a relationship, one night stand if we need to, so that the temple, our physical body, our being is taken care of, that we don't have to get caught up in anything, that we don't have to be caught in this cross of planning forever. So integrating your own authority and letting go of the powerlessness. You are the power. Everything, you guys, everything that the outside world is trying to, so everything in the outside world that is attempting to bring a technology to you is you. You are the technology. You are it. So step into it. Be it. Be in the flow of it. Integrate your own wisdom in the inside so that your expression on the outside can be one of common sense, perfect utilization. So this is what I get to do day in and day out. My self-mastery movement program. It's a mentorship where you get every aspect of the human design system. Can you Google that anywhere? Of course you can. Yes. But you don't get me every single time that you have a question, every single time you want to move yourself and transform yourself in a whole new way. That's what you get to have when you have me for a whole year in this mentorship program. You get access to me, and you and I get to coach in a group setting. And some people are like, oh, I don't like group settings. And sometimes it isn't correct for people to be in a group setting. And I totally get that. However, that's where the juice really begins to flow, because when you see that other person and you recognize them and you see their mechanics, see what's going on with them, then you get to be able to see that at a whole new level, so that when you're interacting with it, you understand it. And then you get a deeper sense of who you are in a group, because we are all designed to be a part of this duality and this bonding experience. So for the upcoming 2021 year, please understand that you, my friend, are a beautiful being who, when you honor yourself, your experience, your desires, your particular creation, can happen through the correctness of you. You will be taken care of and supported resource-wise when you stand in your awareness. And if you really want to jump into this and be totally inside your experience in a whole new way, I would be honored. It would be my honor to be able to assist you in that and move you into this aspect and this full transformation where you absolutely transcend the mechanical understanding of this system. And you get to step into your own integrated being. All right, friend, take care.